Well, people from other parts of the universe started to take notice and they weren't happy. So other planets got involved in trying to negotiate the peace. But they quickly found out that it was pretty much useless. These bunch of assholes could never seem to get along no matter what happened. So all the planets that kept getting snot on them started to devise a plot to blow the shit out of this planet and just fucking get rid of it once and for all. After you get snot on you a few dozen times, you start to feel that way after a while. And believe me, that's a lot of snot that has to be flying around because, you know, what are the chances that anything is going to hit a planet in the universe? Most of the universe is just open space. So you got like a very, very slim probability of ever being hit. And if you've gotten hit a dozen times already, I mean, that's a shitload of snot flying around then. The planet by now started to become known as Mucous by the rest of the universe, replacing its old name for obvious reasons. Once the plot to blow up Mucous had been formulated, the 18 planets that had been instrumental in the draft of this resolution took it before the governing body of the universe, which was called Pickle Charged Diaper Rash, residing in a nebula out past New Jersey somewhere. The governing body quickly rejected the proposal. Obviously, it was thought to be cruel and unusual. Not everybody on the planet was a complete asshole. The warring factions constituted about 80% of the population of the planet, but the other 20% was more or less innocent of any wrongdoing, or significant wrongdoing at the very least. So the governing body felt like this was just an unsuitable plan and set about to devise an alternative with representatives of the 18 planets. What they eventually decided upon was to take small filaments, no wider than a human hair, and tie them to any kind of anchor-like thing on this planet, on Mucous, like rocks that were in the ground, filaments tied to trees, mountains, tie them to people who didn't move around very much, anything stationary basically. Homes, bricks, salads, if they were placed on a table pretty securely, etc. And once all these filaments had been secured, somewhere around 600, 700 quadrillion of them, then they would be able to manually stop the rotation of the planet. Trick of it was to somehow get the people who weren't the assholes, who weren't in the war, to migrate to one side of the planet and leave all the other 80%, the ones in the war, on the other side of the planet to freeze to death once they halted the rotation of the planet. So they'd stop the rotation of this planet while the people who were the innocents were facing the star, and while the people who were guilty of this war were facing away from the star. Let them, over time, starve to death because nothing would grow. Again, the real problem being, how do you keep them there? All of a sudden your planet stopped rotating. Of course, you're going to start running to the side with the starlight on it, away from the dark side of the planet. But they had to think of some way to prevent this from happening. It took a young scientist named Rodriguez Beethoven to finally figure out a way to keep him there, and the answer was just showing Andy Griffith reruns on just the dark side of the planet, with, of course, dropping the hint to the innocence of the planet that it was a trap. So that's what they did. They started showing Andy Griffith reruns, and the assholes in the war stayed over on the dark side of the planet while the innocents knew better and stuck on the lighted side. They enjoyed their TV viewing, those people, but they did eventually starve to death with nothing growing over there. And thus the war was resolved. All the filaments were cut. Plants started rotating again as usual. Mucus production back to normal. Everything more or less set right in the universe.